Hello, everyone. A very good evening. Today, we are going to see a particular bar graph, a single bar graph. In this bar graph, we are going to see the number of trips made by children between the age 5 and 12 in a country who traveled to and from school. So information on the number of trips made by children between 5 and 12. You can say they depended on different modes of transport. Some of them use cars, some of them use bus, some of them use cycles, and some of them went on foot. So a comparison is given what was there in 1990 and what happened after 20 years. So a clear-cut comparison is there. So we have changes there. So here it is a movement chart. This is not a static chart. The thing is that we do have two time frames. 1 year, another year. So 1 year compared to another year. So this is a growth, this is a fall. This is a fall, a fall, a fall. So except in case of cars, the number of trips made by these children by cars increased, except that all other modes, the number of trips they made went down. This is what we can see as a whole. So we have number comparisons here, years compared to the number of trips. And here we do have to see one more thing. Here we have made by children in million per year. So per year in the sense it is 1990 and 2010. In million means it is 14 million here, it's 2 million here. It's not just 2, it's not just 4, it's not just 8 and 10. It is 14 million, 10 million, 12 million, like that. So we have millions there. So that's it. We do have several ways to address this particular bar chart, because it's a single bar chart. You can compare the years in 1990 and 2010. That is one way of comparison. Now you can compare the modes of transport. You can say cars, on foot, cycling, bus and walking, bus. As well as both ways of comparison are acceptable, no issues there. I can compare based on years, whichever is the most appropriate thing, you can do that. Now let's go ahead with the introduction as well as the overview of this particular chart. Information on the frequency of travel made to and from school by children aged between 5 and 12 in 2010 when compared to 1990 is depicted in the given bar diagram. So what is there special here? Information, it means the data on the frequency of travel, the times of travel made to and from school by children aged between 5 and 12. That the age was not there in the question, it was there just above the chart. It was here. So this is not a part of the question, but it is the title of this particular chart. The age was not there in the question, but I have to include this particular data. That is, this particular data is a very vital information in my introduction. Even though you don't find that thing here in this particular question, this is a very vital information of the task. So I need to include this in the introduction. We have done that. Overall, it's clear that when most trips were made were in car in the latter year, in the former year, they depended on bus the most. So you can say car was the most preferred mode of transportation in 2010. So here we have not, you can say, latter year and former year. So I can connect this thing from the introduction, because in the introduction, the latter year is 2010 and the former year is 1990. So it is connected there. And in the overview, you're not supposed to write figures. It's not recommended unless it's an exceptional case. So please don't write numbers in the overview. But when you see the overview, if it is not clear, we need to edit it. Overall, it is clear that when most trips were made by car in the later year, the former year, they depended the bus on the most. If we see in the other way, it is clear that the number of trips made, so I can say in general, the number of trips made went down in the latter year. Except in case of those who traveled by cars. In general, the number of trips made went down in the latter year. All the other modes, you can see, it went down the latter year, except in case of those who traveled by cars. So what you can see in the case of those who travel by cars, you can see an increase. So in general, the number of trips made went down in the latter year, except in case of those who travel by cars. That's it. We have completed the overview. Now we can see the first paragraph. As per the chart, most children in this age group went to and came back from school by bus, on cycle, or on foot in 1990. Yes, you can see that it's very clear. Most children in 1990 on foot, cycle, bus and walking by bus. You can say, definitely you can say most children in this group went and came back by these modes of transports. When they made 12 million trips on bus alone, this is 12 million bus alone. The number of trips they made by other modes, 1, 2, 3, ranged from 6 to 7 million. 6 to 7 million. The least number of trips were made by cars. Yes, the least number of trips were made by cars. Sure, clear. It's very concise. We have completed the matter without any serious problem. Now I am going with the second paragraph. By contrast, in 2010, the number of trips made by cars shot up to over 12 million. So unlike 1990, in 2010, the trip numbers made by cars, the number of trips made by cars shot up to over 12 million. So in the previous sentence, we have said from where it is going, it is there in the previous sentence from 4 million to 12 million. So by contrast, even though these things are there in two different paragraphs, you can say that these things are well connected by the phrase by contrast, and the number is already there in the previous sentence. So from where it went up to 12 million, it's from 4 million. So it is connected. It's not a distant data, it's very near. So by contrast, in 2010, the number of trips made by cars shot up to over 12 million, whereas the frequency of travel by bus alone slipped to just 6 million. By bus alone slipped to just 6 million. Now, I can write something else there. Whereas the frequency of travel by bus alone halved. That's enough. Because it was 12 million. So we have set the data in the previous paragraph. You can see that in the previous paragraph, the data is 12 million trips on bus alone. So you can say the frequency of travel by bus alone halved, 12 to 6. Comparison. What was there? 6 million. What I have done? Halved. So comparison became little bit more relevant there. There were substantial falls in the number of trips who went to and returned from school on foot and on cycle. So you can see that. Excuse me. There were substantial falls in the number of trips by children who went to and returned from school on foot. From school on cycle. Okay, so I think we have done there. Once more, I don't need this particular. There were substantial falls in the number of trips by children who went to and returned from school on foot and on cycle. Yes, okay, I need it. From 6 million to just 2 to 3 million. Definitely, I have said this data. From 6 million to 2 to 3 million. Yeah. Those who boarded bus and walked for commuting to and from schools also showed a negative growth. Those who boarded bus and walked also showed a negative growth, and this was by 2 million from 7 million. So this was by 2 million from 7 million in 1990. So in 1990, it was 7 million. Now negative growth by 2 million. So matter is closed. So we have completed the particular task. We have said that a clear-cut introduction, a clear-cut overview, and 2 paragraphs. What is there? What was there in 1990 and how it changed in 2010. So I told you can write in another way, that you can compare the modes of transport: car, walking, cycling, bus and walking, bus. In that way also you can classify. So you need to go with the word count too. You should not go and exceed the word count. So that's why I went for a better comparison, that is comparison between the years 1990 and 2010. So this is okay, this is better. That's what we have done here. I hope you must have understood. Thank you once again.